Hello and welcome back to the Airshow Room podcast. It's been a little bit quiet over the last 3 weeks. Well, I guess we say quiet. There's no MiG-17s in the flying display. But we have got some airshows that have announced some aircraft that we can talk about, including RIAT, Midlands, some cool things from things like Shuttleworth and Cosford, and probably more things that we'll discuss throughout the airshow updates that we've had so far. I am your host. My name is Dan, and joining me are my two co-hosts, Chloe.
Hello.
And Harry.
Hello.
And I felt like I did those names the wrong way around and caught you both off guard. So I do apologise, and we'll get straight into things. Yeah, I do apologise. So, shall we talk about RIAT? So since the last podcast, it's actually the first updates, the first Takeoff Thursdays of RIAT have come into play. And we've had 3 updates since we recorded the last podcast, with some things that are very specifically fit in the main theme of the show. So shall we start with the flying display?
Yes.
Go on then. So what have they announced for the flying display?
So the very first thing they announced was the Finnish F-18 Hornet, which is a RIAT regular. Yeah,
absolutely. It is the premier F-18 demo on the circuit, probably, in terms of the 3 that were flying, because the Swiss don't fly theirs anymore. The Finnish F-18 is absolutely the best demo, in my opinion, of an F-18 on the European circuit compared to the Spanish. And I'll never ever forget the display that they did in 2019, I believe, when the Swiss and the Finnish came toe-to-toe at the 2019 show, because that was one mega thing. And also, it's fitting the theme as well.
It is.
I believe as well, this year, the F-18 demo from Finland is from a different squadron. I believe that the last couple of years it has been from one squadron, but this year, I believe it's from, I'm not even going to pronounce the place or thing, but Squadron 31. So it is actually from a different squadron that we've had over the past couple of years, which again, it's nice to see some different demo pilots and different things. Potentially might even be a different serial F-18 for those of you that collect Regs and stuff out there. So that is also going to be a cool thing as well.
It'll be interesting to see if they switch up the display a little bit compared to the other squadron.
Well, because we got 2 last year.
Yeah.
So we had 2 different demo pilots with the same jet that they flew 2 sorties, didn't they? Yeah. So we had 2... probably they were quite different displays in terms of things. If you'd have said that they were both different nations, I think you probably could have argued the case again for that. So yeah, no, pretty cool. I wonder whether or not we'll get the same again this year. But yeah, different squadron. Good to see them back, and obviously fits the fighter theme.
Definitely does. Very nice thing to start with.
The other nation that's confirmed for the flying display is the Jordanian Falcons, which, as you can suspect if you keep an eye on social media, caused the bipolar effect of you either love them or hate them. I guess they're the Marmite effect, really, aren't they, of the airshow world? And I think all of us agree here, or at least I think I'm speaking for all of us, agree that we absolutely love them, and it would not be RIAT without the Jordanian Falcons.
It won't be. Plus, it's nice to see the consistent participation and the fact they're always trying to come to RIAT.
Absolutely, yeah. So we got the Jordanian Falcons. In the update that we got them, they said that their C-130 is still yet to confirm officially, but it seems like they have an intent to bring that C-130 that's always brilliantly painted, and they normally bring that sort of cultural display with them, with all their pictures and things, which is really, really good. If any of you ever go to the C-130 of the Jordanians, behind it there's a big white tent, and in there there's some really interesting things that you get to look at, which we did last year. What did we do last year? Yeah, I think when it started raining on the Saturday. Touch wood, it doesn't rain this year. So yeah, that's again brilliant. They're a really, really cool little display team, and like I said, RIAT would not be the same without them.
And for those that don't know what they fly 4 extra 330 Alexis.
They do, yeah. Switched up from the extra 300s that they used to fly quite a while ago. And then fitting on with the theme as well of fighters, we had a quadruple of static announcements this week, 3 of which fit the fighter theme. And we also got some information about what they plan to do with the fighter theme as a static display as well with these announcements. So, Harry, could you run off what we got on the static display?
Yes, so first, some of you out there will be happy to know that the Norwegian Historical Squadron will be providing their Vampire for display, which is very nice. The Vampire is one of my favourite Cold War jet aircraft, coming from just how amazing the design is. Following on from that, Flying Legends GmbH will be providing their Corsair for static display. The Corsair is another one of my favourite aircraft with its legendary gull-wing design. And then we also have the Supermarine Seafire, which is very much the Royal Navy version of a Spitfire. Fantastic piece of aircraft. Always nice to see them. And then our final one is the North American Harvard, which will also be on the static display.
And the last 2 coming from Navy wings, aren't they?
Yes, that is correct, coming from Navy wings. So as people know out there, I'm very much a lover of historical aircraft, so I'm very, very happy to see the Vampire, the Corsair, and the Seafire. I'm very happy about the Vampire, as always. Dan here can attest the fact that I have a slight obsession with the Vampire.
Slight being an understatement, I think, as well. But yeah, so the De Havilland Vampires come from the Norwegian Historic Squadron. Are they painting it in a different livery this year? I can't remember what squadron they're painting it in, but yeah, they're repaint. So if those of you that haven't seen the Norwegian Historic Squadron Vampire, every single year they try and paint it in a different scheme that represents a different nation or squadron or something. So the last couple of years prior to last year, we had the Canadian centenary and the Italian centenary, and both years they painted vampires in those colours from their nation's air forces, which again is a really cool thing that the historics do. The new Norwegian historics do. So that'll be pretty good to see. I think Chloe's figured out what squadron it's going to be painted in this year.
In the markings of 54 squadrons, that'll be very interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it kind of links to what RIAT have announced in terms of their plan for the static display, is that they've announced they're going to have some sort of timeline, I guess, in terms of how they're going to set up the static line. So I will quote specifically from the website, and it says, "Our aspiration is to create a chronological lineup of aircraft used for air-to-air combat throughout the ages." And then they went on saying, "We're pleased to confirm the first iconic fighters start this special static update." So it sounds like, similar to when we've had the grouping of search and rescue helicopters last year, the F-16 line in 2024, that they're going to do this almost chronological. I think that, bear in mind, this idea is brilliant. If you could start and get something like the Great War Display Team, a couple of their aircraft or something from, Ducks, some proper old biplanes, and you work your way up all the way to having like F-35s right on the end as your 5th gen, that would be a really spectacular thing to just to walk up. And obviously the Vampire representing the early Cold War jets as part of that.
First generation, to be specific.
First generation jets, there you go. So absolutely a brilliant idea what RIAT have come up with that. And I'm really intrigued to see how that goes, because ultimately, they are going to get probably quite a lot of static aircraft. And it's going to be brilliant.
Also, they confirmed on a social media post, I think it was on Instagram in response to someone's comment, that they are getting a viewing platform back this year. So it'll be interesting to see if they put it close to that.
Oh, is that the platform, the photography platform that was next to the F-16s 2024 and then the Mirages last year?
Yeah.
Mirages, the Greek ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, okay, well, that's good. That's be great news to have that back as well. It's actually, to be fair, the last 2 years been really cool to get the different perspective of the aircraft and to get up high, I guess, with them. So that's good news to have them back.
Helps so much with photography, especially if you want the tail shots and like at a really nice angle.
And that's the photographer and Chloe starting stock. All right, so as Harry mentioned, the Flying Legends Corsair is also going to be at the show on static display. So the Corsair actually has a bit of history in terms of where it comes from, because I believe it's got a bit of war experience.
Yes, it definitely does.
And so in what theatre does it have experience?
In what theatre? It was commissioned and, well, used by the US Navy during the Second World War, first deployed in It was introduced in 1942 and primarily served in the Pacific, which is where it had a lot of experience fighting against the Imperial Japanese Navy. Following on from that, it also saw combat throughout the Korean War, and also in the colonial wars in Indochina and Algeria. It's not only been used by the US, it's been used by the Royal Navy and the Royal New Zealand Air Force. It's quite an experienced aircraft, and it's probably had one of the longest production runs of any US piston engine fighter from 1942 to 1953, when production finally stopped, which was when it was finally retired.
I believe that this Corsair that we're getting, the exact Reg Corsair, has had some experience in theatre, I believe in the Korean War, was it?
Yes, it served with VMHF 513 Flying Nightmares of the US Marine Corps, according to the RIAT website.
So it is a properly war-torn fighter from your sort of, I guess, post-World War II conflicts.
Sorry.
No, go on.
No, I was going to say it was probably either a post-war production, or it could be one of those that had served in the Second World War that was just still around by the time of the 50s, which was not uncommon at the time, as the US was in the process of having to demilitarize, and there was a lot of back order when regarding that.
Yeah, but I guess with it having some more experience, it absolutely fits the theme of the fighter meet as well.
Indeed, which I cannot wait to see.
And then finally, we have the two Navy Wings assets, which is their North American Harvard, which I believe RIAT said that they wanted to put alongside current Navy counterparts, and also their Seafire, which, as Harry mentioned earlier, is the Royal Navy's version of the Spitfire as well, which, again, you're not getting your points, however, for your predictions, Harry, because it's a Seafire, not Spitfire, and I am overruling that on a technicality.
I hate you for that fact, but you're using the best kind of correct, which I have to commend you for.
Look, I've got to get points somehow, and if this is one way of doing it, I'm sure there'll be a Spitfire announced in the next couple of weeks.
Most likely.
For now, I get my joy of not letting you have a point for a couple more weeks.
But I could also advise you on the fact that maybe you should just make better choices when it comes to the betting.
I can't disagree.
And we're keeping that in. That's staying in.
Yeah, it's staying in. The Seafire as well. Again, it fits sort of the World War II era fighters, and again, will absolutely be a joy to see on that static line for RIAT. Notably, also, RIAT have added some some nations to the ongoing list, which I guess is always one of the nice transparent parts about RIAT, in terms of we kind of get to see who's talking behind the scenes, what's going on. They've recently said that they've been at the European Airshow convention talking to display teams there, which I believe, if I quote from them, if I can find it on their website, they've had lots of productive talks. The convention, nearly all air forces that we spoke to were planning on sending assets to the show, including some flying displays we haven't seen at RIAT previously, which links to some of the news that came out of the European Airshow conventions. The Germans are not having just one Tornado display this year; they are having two, which is one above what they had last year, which they tested out one of their Tornado demos. Which, please. Please send it.
It gives us a bigger chance of getting at least one Tornado display from having two now.
Yeah, I'd like to hope that we get at least one of them, and I wouldn't mind the other lot on static, to be honest. So feel free, Germans, if you are listening. Not that you would be, but yeah, please send your tornado demos, because absolutely would I like to see a tornado screaming through the skies of RIAT once more.
Fingers crossed, and also a nice scheme, please.
A nice scheme. Is that because you've seen that one of the tornado demos is coming from the Tiger Squadron by any chance?
Yes, it definitely is. Yes.
So, I believe, Chloe, you said you had a question to ask us about the ongoing list. So,
Yes, I do. So there's quite a few interesting ones on the ongoing list. So out of all the ones ongoing, which ones interest you the most, and what would you like to see from them, if you could pick something?
how many am I allowed to pick?
2.
That's not helpful. I want to pick about 8. In terms of ongoing, I've probably the first one is definitely got to be the South African Air Force, just on the basis that currently they've got a C-130 having maintenance in Cambridge, which is probably my guess of what will actually turn up, if anything's going to turn up for static display. RIAT did say that they intend to send something for static. So I'd go with the South African Air Force, though by the tiny, tiny, tiny off chance that we can get a fighter from them for the fighter theme, then one of their Gripens, please and thank you. Signed and sealed, delivered with a nice little bow on top would be brilliant from the South Africans. But then, like, I don't know, you say a second one, there's so many, like, just going through the list of some invited nations that, like, stand out as one. The Australian Air Force is one. The Croatian Air Force is another. They've got new Rafales that would be, like, something I'd go, yes, please, to. We have the Indian Air Force ongoing straight away from the start. The Kuwait Air Force, which, well, whether or not something turns up from that is a separate question. We have the Romanians are back on there, which they have an F-16 demo, which again fits the theme. So yeah, there's loads to talk about. If I was going to go for my second one, though, that excites me, it's got to be the Indian Air Force, just because of the sheer variety that you could get from them, in terms of they have some old Russian kit, in terms of, I believe, Su-30s. They have Rafales, which is this year, am I correct in saying, an anniversary of the Rafale? Something like 30 or 25 years or 40 years or something. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Something like that, 'cause I'm pretty sure the French have come up with a really nice tale for...
There was...
The Lafayette one.
Yeah. So I guess that could be a sub-theme if we get enough. I mean, Croatia's ongoing, India's ongoing, so you could get a build-up of Rafales, I guess. But also from them, you've got Jaguars, please, thank you.
And the Tejas.
Yeah, the Tejas, I forgot, yeah, their own indigenous fighter. So, I mean, they're my two picks. What's your 2?
Well, you took my Indian one because I was going to have them as one of them.
Sorry.
I'd really like to see the Tejas or a Rafale from them.
Yeah.
And then the second one has to be Quake, just because I've never seen anything from them before, but obviously that depends on tensions.
Geopolitical situations, as we can probably put it, in terms of...
Yeah, the nice way of saying it.
Any specific aircraft from Kuwait?
Yeah, so I'd really like an F-18, but I'd settle for a Typhoon if that's the only thing they'd be willing to send.
I think it could be a Wharton job. I think it could be a Typhoon on delivery flight like we've had from Qatar the last couple of years, because I believe it was 2019 or 2022 we had a Kuwait Air Force Typhoon on static display that was on delivery flight from Wharton. So that'd be my guess. But I mean, I would absolutely 100% take an F-18 from the Kuwaiti Air Force.
Yes.
Go on, Harry. What would you pick from the ongoing list?
Well, to answer your question, Dan, I think the 2 I would be very much like to see would be the German and the Austrian Air Forces. I think the 2 would complement each other. Obviously, both having very similar and constitutions, but then obviously with different aircraft designs and patterns. So it would be very interesting to see how they could complement each other, and that's my reason. Yeah. That was probably one I forgot off, was the Austrian Air Force, because they have some Typhoons, and we rarely see the Austrians provide, especially more recently. I think back when they had like SK-60s, they used to demo RIAT quite regularly. But
yeah, the Austrians could be a really cool one to have because, I mean, in 2022 we had the QRA demo, which would absolutely fit a fighter theme. For me, it sits at a thing that was like a one-time RIAT thing that you'll never ever see again. But they have Typhoons, so could fit a fighter theme, get a C-130 on static as well, and get some good participation from the Austrians. But on the whole, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I would also say as a runners-up to one, if you don't mind me adding this.
Go on.
I think it would be interesting to see something from the Irish Air Corps, because obviously a lot of them, especially with Ireland being very much a neutral country in terms of everything, it would be interesting to see just a display from one of aircraft that were developed by countries that were perpetually neutral. Obviously, a lot of aircraft are developed by a lot of countries, part of alliances, part of all that geopolitical sphere, but we don't ever see what are countries that were mainly neutral, what would they do? What aircraft did they build? So seeing a bit more of that side of it would also be quite interesting too, and that was a runners-up that I was debating.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Irish they've supported RIAT quite well. I mean, being our neighbours, they've always tried to send some stuff. I think the last time we had a flying display item, they sent the Silver Swallows in 2022, which was when we had quite a big gathering of Pilatus aircraft that year. Again, there is lots and lots of positives. RIAT have obviously left the caveat out there saying that they expect nations to confirm a little bit later on this year, just to everything that's going on in the world, but they still expect most nations to confirm, and it's obviously positive to see that the nations they've talked to from the European Airshow Convention have also said they want to send something to the show as well. So positives all round. Sure, it's been a little bit of a slowish start, I guess. Slow is a really bad term to use, but I think things will ramp up as we get definitely into May with RIAT, and we've not got many updates until May, so we'll see what we get over the coming weeks.
Definitely, because it's really hard to figure out who can definitely make it with all the geopolitical things going on at the minute, because you don't know who's going to get dragged into it next, the way things are going.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is very much something we have to keep an eye on.
So then let's move it away from an air show that necessarily doesn't rely on European nation participation, and going on to the show that's been quite the talking point so far this year, and probably you could argue has been the talking point in the airshow communities for the last couple of years, is the Midlands Air Show, which have announced more aircraft since the MiG-17, and arguably, actually for me, is up there with the MiG-17 in terms of aircraft. They announced a Grumman Turbo Firecat as part of their flying display. This is a decommissioned civil-owned Firecat that is in, I believe, French Navy firefighting colours, and also still has the capability to carry water, just like it did in its duties. For me, this is up there with the MiG-17, and I don't know. I don't know why it is for me, but it just is. I loved seeing the Firecat on static display 2 years ago at RIAT, and I've been wishing and hoping. I saw last year before Manson got cancelled that they had it on their participation list. So to see the Midlands have got that aircraft is absolutely brilliant, and I am really looking forward to see it.
I'm personally looking forward to it because I love an aircraft where it shows off the roll capability. Because then it's like you're kind of in the action a little bit then.
And the Midlands have said that they are going to do a water drop at some point in the display. So that is something to look out for. And if it is going to be a nice sunny warm day, touch wood.
It'll make it even more better.
Yes, I was about to say, it'll be a nice cool down event.
Yes.
Though I might get someone figure out where they're going to do the water drop and put my car underneath, because I think it'd be quite a nice little wash for the car. Free car wash with the water drop.
So self-centered.
But all jokes aside, brilliant display, and really, really, really looking forward to seeing that.
And for those of you that want to know, it is flown by the French pilot Nikash Coffin, who's quite a good pilot.
I've to be honest, never heard of the pilot before. You know, there's names that stick out before, but I am sure they're absolutely brilliant display. Stop laughing, Harry.
I'm sorry, please cut this, but I'm glad I wasn't the only one who thought that.
Anyway.
The name stuck out. Anyway.
Also on the Midlands flying display list, we've got two more. An aircraft, again, I've never seen on the flying display before, and I haven't actually seen on the circuit anywhere in terms of like information. In terms of where this aircraft has come from, it's coming. I know all I know is it's operating from France, but it's a Spartan 7 executive, which I've never. I don't even think I've seen one on static before any air shows. It is completely new to what to expect from this aircraft.
Well, from what I did a little bit of research onto this because I'd never heard of it either. It's not actually that quite surprising because only 36 were ever built.
Really?
Yeah, only 36 between the years 1936 and 1940. They were very much a personal luxury aircraft.
So it's a proper rarity then, not just to see one. You know, if this was to be a static aircraft at an air show, you'd probably say, "Wow, that's pretty cool." But to see one flying in the flying display, then an absolute rarity. Then.
Ah, yeah, indeed. I mean, because a lot of them were probably impressed when obviously the war broke out. Like in terms of military, only 4 countries ever used it in terms of the military, because it was converted for military use as well. You had examples such as the United States, where obviously the aircraft originated from. They were all impressed, used by the Army Air Corps and the Air Service. Unfortunate fact, 16 of them were impressed from their civilian owners, but only two survived to be returned. So they probably got some happy customers there. Other examples include obviously the UK, with being part of the Royal Air Force. We had some that were built for Iraq back when they were under colonial administration or occupation, and other examples include the Spanish Republic during the Civil War, and also the Chinese Nationalist Air Force. Only a few, which is very strange considering it is very much a luxury model, and it was used for military use. But it has appeared. It has appeared at RIAT before, way back in 2014. So it has been on the aircraft circuit, but it's not. But as you said, it's probably not something that it's not very quite common.
In relation to that, it'll carry construction number 25, and the man piloting it is called Skippy. I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Massachetti. And this particular aircraft is based in northern France, and because of how well it's maintained, it flies as much as it did over 8 years ago.
Oh wow, that's brilliant!
That is amazing.
Number 25 out of 36 then. Yes. Just to hear the history of the aircraft and say that 36 were built and it went into that many different theatres in terms of transport, etc., is absolutely cool. And again, one to absolutely look out for, especially if it's in that bright coloured chrome scheme that's on the Midlands website as well, which I'm sure when we get some nice sun, touch wood, again, it'll be gleaming from that as well.
That's going to be a beautiful shot. I'm hoping the sun hits it just right for that little shine on top.
Indeed.
And then finally, a Midlands regular, I guess, kind of, is Team Raven. Will be back in the Ragley Hall skies. Again, an absolute joy of a civilian display team to see. And it's nice to start seeing them at loads of different shows now around the UK. And again, in the Ragley Hall skies. I believe they're still, to this day, believed to be the world's largest civilian display team.
Yes, that's what they've kept on the website, which last I saw was updated last year, because last year was also the first year that they went to a 7 ship.
Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know, Team Raven fly a self-built RIAT aircraft and were formed in 2014.
I do have to admit, if I ever was to get a pilot's license and they're going to get an aircraft, one of your Van's RV7s, RV6, RV8s would definitely be one of those aircraft, because it is highly aerobatic, it's highly manoeuvrable, and yes, please, I would like one. I just want to start doing loops. I'm not going to lie to you.
I must say, I'm a big fan of their colour scheme. I'm surprised how much I actually like it. It just seems to fit it just fits it really well, and I look forward to hopefully seeing them flying.
I remember, was it last year that we saw them at Duxford or the year before? And one of the pilots had like a puppet raven in his hand as well
Yes,
that he
he
stuck
did,
out the
yeah.
cockpit as he taxied by. Which again, it's just a little sort of quirky little thing that the team does as well. And I'm sure, Chloe, you're about to tell us a lot more about the team and their pilots because we were discussing this off podcast and some of the things that you talked about in terms of the aircraft, the pilots and what they do and where they've come from. Start with the first pilot and go through these because you've got some information.
So in total, there's 6 pilots and a team manager, who I'll go through in order. And there's just so much interesting information about the backstory that it was so difficult to pick which ones to whittle it down to. And so if you do want even more information on them, just go to the Team Raven website, and there's a massive amount of detail on there, including about the actual aircraft themselves as well. So Raven 1 is Simon Sid Shirley, who is in his 10th season as a display pilot, and also a former RAF fast jet pilot who's most notably for the Tornado F3 and the Hawk. Raven 2 is Patrick Wilson, who is the newest and youngest member, who had previously flown in 2-ship displays for 3 seasons in a decathlon and Extreme Air XA42 before joining this team. Raven 3 is Peter Wells, who built one of the first ever RV8s in UK in 2002, but he's the one where, if you've heard the commentary before, they sometimes mention this fact that he couldn't get it to fly, so he had to get one from somewhere else. And he also built a silenced Twister aircraft and started a solo display at 2007, which progressed into the Twister Duo, which some of you may know, some of you may not. There are plenty of clips out on YouTube if you want to have a look at his display from that, as he led the team for 10 years. Then in 2009 he was the first to perform on aircraft pyro displays in the UK and went on to lead the first team to perform pyro displays before joining Raven in 2022. There's a lot of experience there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Raven 4 is Gerald Williams, who has performed with Team Viper and displayed with the Yak 52 team in South Africa.
Now, just to cut you off there, Team Viper's not the Belgian F-16 Team Viper or the US Air Force Team Viper. It was a different display team, Team Viper, wasn't it?
Yes, it was his Hawker
Hunter display team, yeah.
I can't speak today.
It's fine.
Yeah, so not to be confused with them. There are a few clips online, but just be careful which ones you look at, because a lot of them are the American display team. He is also the team's display schedule organiser, due to his extensive networking links, and he has an impressive amount of ex-military jets which he's flown in loads of different displays, but there's way too many to list in this podcast, so if you want to check those out, it's all the full list is on the website. Raven 5 is Russ Eatwell, interesting fact, he sits outside left when flying with the full team, so you know exactly who's on the left-hand side when they're flying in full displays. And then when they do the synchro pair manoeuvres, he will be teamed with Gerald, who is number 4. So now you know who the synchro pair will be.
Cool.
He had displayed the Sea Harrier for 2 years, and then the Swordfish and Seahawk for the company that is now called Navy Wings. And he also flew a Rolls-Royce Spitfire Mk19 as well, before joining the team. Lastly, Raven 6 is Mark Southern, who has 30 years experience with Boeing and Airbus, and also an ex-RAF pilot, having flown Tornado, GR1 and Jet Provost in instructional roles. He also has display experience, having owned and displayed his own Hawker Hunter J11 with Team Viper, so he knows Gerald very well.
Yep.
And then finally you have the team manager, who was one of the original Team Raven pilots, Barry Gwinnett. He also flew in Team Osprey displaying Yak 52. And he was the first to get hold of an RV8 after a dozen years of owning and displaying the Yak 52. And according to the Team Raven website, to keep him out of mischief, he's currently doing the project, whereas rebuilding a Starduster open cockpit biplane, which aims to be flying in the summer. I don't know if that's this summer or last summer, as it didn't state that on the website, it just said summer on there.
So, from that massive piece from Team Raven, a hugely experienced set of team, and I think you can tell the experience that they have when they fly, because they fly like a proper professional group of pilots, and the displays also show that as well. Sometimes in quite tricky conditions,
Yes.
like we saw at Duxford one of the last years, where it was gusting quite highly, and they went up and displayed as a 7 and kept the information pretty damn well.
Doing a full display as well in gusty conditions. Didn't cut anything, just full display.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant from them. And great to hear the history of the team, where they've all come from.
Yeah, and there's a lot more. That's just the more interesting ones that I could find.
So go have a look on Team Raven's website if you want to find more information about them. Because, again, just from that little snippet of information, hugely experienced pilots. And I'm sure if you meet a few of them at any of the air shows this year, go and talk to them about some of their experience, because I'm pretty sure they'll have some cool stories.
Yeah, they definitely seem like a group of people that will talk to you about every single thing they've flown before and try and convince you to build your own RV8.
Oh, I don't need any speaking to, I just need a pilot licence first. So, let's move on then from Midlands, which have only announced 3 aircraft, but again, some pretty cool aircraft in that, to the RAF's last official air show, which is Cosford. We spoke about a couple of their editions last episode. Oh my god, I can't get my words out today. They've announced 3 more flying items and 6 more static items, which we will start with the flying, which Harry's going to be excited again, because one of them is the Norwegian historic vampire.
Yay!
Is going to be part of the flying display at Cosford. We also have the RAF station Czechoslovakia, which own an Avro Mark 1, which is the only Mark 1 flying in the world, and the OV-10 Bronco, which will be coming from Belgium, which again, adding to a very varied lineup for the Cosford Air Show. So we'll start with the Bronco, I guess, might as well. It is an old scout aircraft. It's part of the sort of, I guess, ex-Vietnam era, early Cold War. And it's also a really, really dynamic display. Really, really cool. And will hopefully operate from the strip at Cosford, because it should be operating from the strip at Midlands, where that's a lot smaller.
Yes. So it's flown by Tony De Bruyne, which a few of you might know had some very serious injuries in 2012 when he first flew a Bronco, as he suffered serious burns and back injuries. And then a couple of years later, he just got straight back into a Bronco for a photo shoot, as if nothing had happened, which is incredible to see, because some people get put off by...
I might say, as you do, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, brilliant.
And he always delivers an incredible display, no matter what. And he also formed the OV-10 Bronco Association as well, so he helps get Broncos flying.
Am I right in saying that they own 2 Broncos at the moment in Belgium?
Yes.
Yeah. One, they're obviously only flying 1 at the moment. There was a rumour going around a couple of years ago, that they might be flying 2 at some point together, but that's not materialised yet. So hopefully in the future that might be the case. We're obviously speaking about the Norwegian historic vampire. Again, it's going to be nice to see it flying. I always like hearing the vampire taxi, because it's got one of the weirdest taxiing sounds. It's kind of up there with the Harrier, in terms of it just has this weird whine. Very unique. You can tell it's absolutely a vampire. And then obviously I mentioned that we have the Avro Mark 1, which hopefully might be joined at some point by another Anson at some point in the display season this year, because it seems like the Avro Mark 1 from RAF Station Czechoslovakia will be performing quite a few times in the airshow season around the UK, as I believe we previously mentioned that it might be attending Shuttleworth as well, which again I think we said last time that we're hopefully to get a couple of Ansons together in the same sky would be pretty darn cool.
And that would make for some incredible photos as well, because it's very rare to get 2 at once.
It would, absolutely. And then following on from the Cosford flying lineup, we have 6 static items to go from that, most of which are coming from the museum's collection, but also either are new sort of assets to their collection or newly restored. So I will run them off very quickly and then we can go into more detail. So we have one of the old RAF Pumas, we have an old RAF Tucano, We have an old Hawk T1, which is in Red Arrow colours, which has been on static a couple of times now, I believe, at Cosford when we've been.
It has.
A Chinook, and then 2 visiting aircraft. We have the Navy Wings Harvard again, which will be on static at Cosford, just like at RIAT, and then a Chipmunk on static as well. So we might as well go back to the start of the list and start with the Puma, which I believe is a HC2 variant.
It is.
And these have only just been recently retired. They retired in 2025, I believe.
Yes, it completed a farewell flight over Cosford Air Base as well in 2025.
Oh, I didn't know that. No, I was working at the time, so I didn't get to go see that farewell flight, which I was really disappointed about. But it's really, really cool to see. And yes, it's now going to be part of that RAF Museum Midlands, I guess. I always call it RAF Cosford Museum, but it is that RAF Museum Midlands. And going to be joining part of a new exhibit, I believe, that they are changing one of the hangars into a more modern RAF/UK based hangar, which go look out for the plans for that. I think they are somewhere around the Cosford Museum, RAF Museum Midlands Museum. So go and have a look, because it actually looks like it's pretty cool. And a viewer sent me that as well, so that's really, really cool.
And also the Puma will represent over 50 years of rotary capability as well when it gets put on display there.
I think just a very quick side note for anyone that's interested in RF procurement as well. We have just got the procurement through for the replacement for the Puma, where we've acquired 23 AW139s from the Leonardo factory, which is great news because it's going to be keeping the jobs down south, down by Yeovilton. And it's also nice to hear from our Air Force that we are going to be not reducing the number, but we are matching exactly how many Pumas we had, which is 23. So that's nice to hear as well.
And they make a really nice noise as well, so it's a nice replacement.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. And then we have a Tucano, which was always, for some reason when I was a kid, one of my favourite RAF displays. I don't know why. Just always was. And I guess if you go and look on old Mac Loop videos on YouTube and stuff, you ever see loads of videos of them flying through the Mac Loop. They've also been replaced by the Texan as well in service with the RAF.
And these were originally chosen to replace the RAF Jet Provost as trainers, which students would then go on to fly Hawk T1s. Which
links, I guess, nicely onto the Hawk T1 of the Red Arrow that we've got there then as well. Which, again, if you've been to Cosford Airshow, is a regular there. It's always nice to see an old Hawk T1 in Red Arrow's colours on the ground. Because, again, you don't really, other than their mock-up that they bring that you can go sit in at shows, you don't see a legitimate Hawk T1 in Red Arrow's colours, so it's always nice to see that.
It is. It's really good for the kids as well, because they absolutely adore
Absolutely, yeah. It's really, really good for the younger generation. And we also have a Chinook as well, which I believe... I can't think of the last time I've seen an RAF schemed Chinook in the static display. I believe this one is being brought out of the museum to be put on static display. Is that correct?
That is correct. And for those of you that may or may not have seen it in the museum, it is nicknamed, well, it's Bravo November, but they refer to this particular Chinook as a survivor. And that is due to it earning its reputation during the 1982 liberation of the Falkland Islands. So after the MS Atlantic conveyor was struck by a missile and banked, Bravo November was the sole Chinook to survive.
What, from that attack?
Yes.
And that's where it's then got its name, the Survivor?
Yes.
Very, very cool. So again, another aircraft with history, which you're going to be able to get up and close with, yes. On the grounds of Cosford, which is really exciting, because again, I can't think of the last time we had a RAF Chinook in the sat display for a while, because they used to bring a mock-up to shows. I remember seeing that when I used to go to Waddington as a kid, that you could walk through, but it was always a 3/4 scale aircraft that you used to be able to walk through. They had like a little Gatling gun on the back window and stuff, which was always pretty fun to play with as a little child. Not that I'm saying I wouldn't do that now, because I'm still a child as an adult. But yeah, really, really cool to see. And as we've mentioned previously so far, we've got the Navy Wings Harvard, and also a Chipmunk, which I believe is it 90 years of the Chipmunk this year? 80 years of the Chipmunk?
80 years.
80 years of the Chipmunk as well this year, which is very, very cool. Speaking of 80 years of aircraft, what is the anniversary this year? So I tried leading up to see if people can figure out what the anniversary is. Or is it 90? It might be 90. Anyone?
Is it something to do with the Spitfire?
It is something to do with the Spitfire.
Because they're doing a flight over Coningsby in April.
They are. But what show is celebrating the flight or the anniversary of the Spitfire? Well, that is Shuttleworth, and their
The summer show, wasn't
the
it?
summer show is going to be, which is the weekend after RIAT, the 26th of July, something like that.
25th, 26th.
There you go. And they will be celebrating the 90th anniversary, of the Spitfire, which must mean it's the 90th anniversary of the Chipmunk. Or is it the 80th? I cannot remember. There's so many anniversaries this year.
Pretty sure RIAT mentioned the 80th at some point.
Must have done. So, yeah, 90th anniversary of the Spitfire really links onto the Shuttleworth, which for their summer air show have announced that they plan to, in the flying display, get every airworthy mark of Spitfire possible to be part of their flying display. And just this past weekend, they have announced their first 6 Spitfires, pardon me, that will be part of the flying display. And Chloe has just shown me a computer screen that does say it is the 80th year of the Chipmunk this year. So 80 years of the Chipmunk, 90 years of the Spitfire. So, part of the celebration, they have a Spitfire Mark 1A. They have the Spitfire Mark 5, which is the collections aircraft. We have a Spitfire Mark 9, a Spitfire Mark 11, a Spitfire Mark 16, 14, Spitfire Mark 14, 19, and a Spitfire Mark 17, there we go, which is actually the Seafire. Again, I'm going to call it the Seafire because I still don't want to give Harry his point for RIAT. So, I'm not letting this one go, Harry, by the way.
I don't know.
So they have announced that their plan to get is every airworthy mark of Spitfire possible, which is a huge undertaking by the Shuttleworth team. But if they do pull this off,
it'll be huge for them.
It'll be probably the scene of the summer, I'd say, in terms of that. Probably up there with the big wing that Duxford do for their Battle of Britain air show.
That's always a beautiful sight, all those Spitfires up there.
It is. And also, just on ideas of Shuttleworth, which, for those of you that, if you want an air show that you kind of umming and ahhing about going to, Shuttleworth seems the place to be for a couple of air shows this year, because for their Wings and Wheels show, they've got the only 2 grown Wildcats in Europe.
I believe so.
That will be taking part as a paired display at the Wings and Wheels show. So you've got the Festival of Flight, which we've got things like the Thunderbolt, the P-47. We've got all of the Red Bull flying stuff, P-38, B-25, Corsair, Mustang, Bearcat. And now we've got, at the Wings and Wheels show, 2 of the Grumman Wildcats, the only 2 in Europe, I believe.
Yes, one will be coming from a private collection, and the other is provided by the Fighter collection. So the privately owned one is the one with the beautiful yellow scheme with a white underside. And the second one has a classic camo scheme with white and black stripes on the wings and the back end of the aircraft. I think that's the best way I can describe it without a visual.
Well, the D-Day stripes, yeah.
Yeah,
Perfect.
That's it.
So, absolutely going to be... Shuttleworth seems to be the place to be this summer. And if you have not got tickets, I would absolutely recommend going and see one of their shows. Because not only will you have all these visiting aircraft, you'll have the amazing collection. And again, I said this every single episode so far, but the amazing collection of aircraft that they have from their collection, I guess.
Yeah. Just another thing on the Fighter Collection Wildcat. They have stated that it currently wears a scheme of a Fleet Air Arm Wildcat on board HMS Tracker in 1944. That's the exact scheme that it's based on.
Nice. And then finally, to end off this episode, then we are going to talk about Headcorn, which have announced the Navy Wings Harvard, getting about a bit this last couple of weeks, which will be part of the flying display this time at the Headcorn International Air Show, which has been adding to the nice little interesting lineup of aircraft that they have at that show. And I believe that is everything. That is the full list of 3 weeks of airshow announcements, and we're only in, what's the time of recording this episode, is the 8th of March, and still more to come.
A lot more to come.
Indeed.
especially, yeah. And I'm sure we'll get some more historic aircraft from RIAT and other shows, and we definitely expect to see some more cool announcements from things like Shuttleworth and I believe Midlands, because they have said that they are not done yet, and with their variety of flying lineup, I am very much intrigued to see what they have. And also, we're probably only a month away from RAF display team allocations coming out as well. So, potentially in the next episode, we might even have that. So, a busy period coming up.
Very interesting to see what they have, and also if the Red Arrows are actually prioritising America, or whether they are going to do a few more British shows to make up for the.
Well, we shall see. We shall see. And on that note, we shall end this podcast today. Thank you all for listening. Make sure you go check out our social media pages, because we will keep you up to date with the latest airshow information coming out of the airshow worlds, and also to have a nice place to discuss all of these cool announcements. Just search the Airshow Room on any social medias. That's Instagram, Facebook. I think that's probably about all we have. Yeah, let's look forward to some air shows. Try and keep positive in what is probably sometimes quite a difficult time to keep positive with the news and everything. Keep looking forward to these air shows, and hopefully, touch wood for the 5th time this episode, some sunny skies at some of these air shows. Thank you for listening to the podcast. I have been Dan, and joining me have been my 2 co-hosts, Chloe and Harry. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.